Howdy peeps, it's been a little while and here I am, back again. So I did say in my last video that I bought a few things, filling a void and that sort of a thing. So I've received most of them. I'm laughing because it's funny. It's like, oh yeah, addictions, this, that and the other. It's like, here I am. Right, you'd think I'd buy a fucking chair that doesn't creak, wouldn't you? Right, where's my phone? Be right back. I'm joking. Right, so first of all, that's my first one. I'll get that in the light there. Can you see that alright? Can you see that? That's pretty cool, isn't it? You know what that is? Other than a Zippo lighter, that's a tree of life. Definitely worth looking into if you're walking a similar path to myself. Tree of life. Now, beautiful thing about this, right? You see, you got the branches and the leaves at the top there, then you got the roots at the bottom. The amazing thing about the tree of life is even when you turn that upside down, it turns into a willow tree. Yeah, it's kind of cool, isn't it? Right? I quite like that. So this is interesting. This is made in 2021. In December 2021. What an interesting time. Obviously I've ordered it recently and I mean I really like it. I mean there's nothing on the back there, I'll just show you for the sake of demonstration. There you go. And as per Zippo, works. Fantastic, does what it does, what it does. And I figured I'd go through with some of my decks that I've been using of recent. So the first one that you guys would have seen is the, I think it's pronounced Ixiga or Ixiga, and that's the tarot deck. It's very basic. Now the one thing I will say about this, and the reason why I bought the original tarot deck, Rider-Waite Smith, is although you do get these lovely instructions, very basic, and let me see, these are the hologrammatic type. You can see the hologram there, right? It is a good deck. They are relatively small, which is good. I mean, it depends what you enjoy, what you're happy working with. So that's that one. Next up is a Rider-Waite Smith version of the tarot. It's the original design tarot deck, and yeah, it's just the basic tarot deck. But I think that's the original is. You can't beat the originals, man. Let's face it. Let's be real about this. When you can put holograms all you want on it, you can't beat the original. Then I've got the Native Spirit Oracle cards by Denise Lynn. Again, I've obviously done a reading with those. We got the Moonology Oracle cards, Yasmin Boland. Thank you, by the way, to all these people that have put in the time, effort, and energy into creating these decks for all of us as air quotes consumers to use by and thus fill spaces in our lives. Next up is the Colette Baron Reed with the Spirit Animal Oracle cards. Again, this is a very lovely deck. I haven't really shown a great deal off. In fact, you know what? I won't, just for the sake of it. But my most recent purchases, and purely because I have an affinity with birds, don't take that to, it's not what it sounds like, but I actually mean aves, alright, as well as birds, the other type, is the Urban Crow Oracle by MJ Cullinane. Now these I really like. In fact, these I'm gonna show off a little bit because I'm actually really impressed with them. Brilliant, thank you. Right, so on the back you've got a typical crow design there, and if you flip it over, I love that, communication. Obviously number 9, that's the 9th card, obviously for the sake of reference when you're going to the Oracle book. But you see how you got the crow there, it's communicating. It's all about communication, which is what I'm doing with you guys round about now. And no, I legitimately did not set that up. Like, I literally just, I used them last night in fact, and I shuffled them and then just put them back like I do, and here we go. And finally, for the time being, because I'm expecting another tarot deck to turn up, don't judge me, man. This one's going to be a challenge for me, I've got to say. That is the Shaman's Oracle, and this is by John Matthews and Will Kingan. Now this is, to me, it appears really in depth, and it is something that I'm really interested in. But I know it's going to be long-winded, so it's not something I've looked into straight away. With the rest of the Oracle cards, they are quite self-explanatory, and you know, you can use whatever type spread you want, whether it's a 3-card, Celtic Cross, Tree of Life, all of that. You know, you can use it, or the Celtic Cross even. You can use any of those spreads and it will work similarly, or you can make your own spread. Like as long as you know what you're placing where and what it's meant to be representing, you can pretty much do that. Anyway, 6:46 on the clock. There we go. So yeah, that's been that. I've been really happy with my divination of recent, and I think it has. I get that this, for some people, this is going to be some real woo-woo stuff, and it's like, what the fuck? So are you losing the plot? Are you actually losing your mind? It's like, no. Truth be told, every single one of us has the ability to do these things. Right? We've always, as human beings, we've always had them. Why do you think a lot of people put it down? Oh yeah, it's myth and legend and all of this, and it's like, where do you think those myths and legends come from? And even if you look at sort of like, you know, speaking of Shaman's Oracle, you've probably heard of things, or you've seen things such as modern day shamanism. I don't know how this video is going to go actually. I had a thought of what I wanted it to be about, but I think I'm going to have to just do a video purely on this and then move on and do another video for the other stuff that I wanted to talk about. You see, one of the things that a lot of people get real wound up and tetchy about sometimes is, and I do as well, right? I'm just putting it out there, right? I get quite tetchy when people give themselves titles and it's coming from a place of ego, right? So, say with me, I know what I know my abilities, I know what I can do, and so on, right? And yeah, I am talking about divination 5D stuff, not 3D stuff. Not everyone believes in that, and the ones that don't believe in it, well, you're missing out, right? That's you're on your own life path anyway, so this will be totally irrelevant, and as far as I'm concerned, that's fine. You can do you, and your thought on this could well be, oh well, you're just chatting crap, it's just gobbledygook, it's like you're woo-woo away with the fairies, as it were. Yes, they are things too. Well, they're not things, you could argue for entities, but whatever. All the stuff that we are surrounded by today, whether it's moonology, right? Now with moonology, I think sometimes some women can get, and I say women because moonology is generally what I would refer to as female energy, right? Some women can or might get a little bit tetchy sometimes about guys that understand moonology, and no, I mean not all of them. Some of them do, but again, this comes from a place of, if they are like that, again down to psychology, it comes from a place of ego. You know, in the same way as digressing back to shaman, you might have heard the expression of shamanka, right? Well, shamanka is basically an addition, right? That you've got the ka at the end, which I think is incorrect. If you're shaman, and that's the end of it. It's like there's no male or female entity about it. It is just an energy. It's just not a being, but a being, if that makes sense. 1032. And in the same with that, back to people that refer themselves to being this, that and the other, and then they go around and they start charging money for stuff and claiming things that are just blatantly fallacies. Maybe they are actually quite literally away with the fairies, but not the fairies that they should be away with, but away with a different kind of psychology or something like that. And it's like, I mean, I watched a video. I did a video similar to this the other night, and it didn't work out how I planned. But I was watching this other video the other night on YouTube, and there was these two white women claiming this, that, and the third, and one of them turned around and sorry, I can't do it without laughing. I can't do it without laughing. Turned around and said that they went on a vision quest and spoke to the creator, and then the creator gave them whatever name they've decided to come up with. And I totally get where some people would take offence to that. I kind of take offence to that. It's like, really? So you're going to try and convince, especially someone like me, if they just said, oh yeah, you went and said that, no, that is not how the Native Americans were named, right? Never has been, never will be, right? And it's just for someone to have the audacity. It's like they've just sat there, probably taken a few mushrooms, had a bit of peyote or something, got a little bit fucking high about themselves, probably went on a psychedelic vision quest, and then given themselves that name. That's the only, look, that is not the traditional way that any Native American is named, right? You got to do your own research. I'm not even going to bother explaining it here. It's like, do your own research and you'll learn all about it. Now, there are exceptions to that, I would argue. There are exceptions to that, because you see, shamanism is not limited to Native Americans. Right? Shamanism has been around the world probably longer than like religion as a, air quotes, written thing. Right? Some people might get offended by that. But it's like, if you look into it, if you look into shamanism and its roots, it's all stuff that we've all been born with, and some of us have certain abilities, intuitiveness and so on, and we learn how to work with it to help us in our everyday life. You know, I've spoken about that gut feeling. You might find yourself sometimes in a situation where you're not too sure about maybe a bunch of people that you've just met, and you think something's a little bit sketchy. And then as a result, you get that gut feeling and you're like, oh, I'm not happy about this. That's intuition. That's intuition in the 3D. Learning to be intuitive in the 5D. At this point, we're talking about, you know, the idea of a shaman, and like I said, this is going to sound like gobbledygook to some people, is you're living with one foot in the real world and one foot in the spirit world. And like I say, this isn't everyone's cup of tea. Not everyone's really that into it. Not everyone believes it, and that's fine. You know, atheists and stuff like that. But even when you look at religions like, say, Taoism, and how they live their life, they're fully aware of spirituality. They're absolutely 100% fully aware of it. You know, like, you can get the little Buddhas, yeah? And the saying goes that, oh, if you rub the Buddha's belly, then, you know, the obviously the, well, this is one of the ones that does tend to be a thing. People talk about it, or it's known about. It's folklore, right? So you rub the belly's Buddha, and then within an amount of time, you'll be granted the gift of money, or you might be granted the gift of some sort of good fortune or good luck. But realistically speaking, most of us live, or sorry, I say most of us, most people live in such a world that they fail to see what is actually having a stroke of good luck. You know, sometimes they might have a small victory of some description. You know, you're walking down the road, you find like £10 or $10 or $10 or whatever the case may be on the floor. That's like, well, you know, if you was in that scenario, and you could argue, well, I've never had a little Buddha, and I've walked down the road and I usually find like a £5 or a £10, and it's like, alright, well, obviously someone's dropping money out of their wallet and not paying attention. You're the lucky one that found it. They're the, air quotes, unlucky one, or the unaware one, the one that wasn't paying attention, that has lost it. But in terms of that whole theory of rubbing the Buddha's belly and then luck coming your way, it is a thing. And the more you believe in it, the more it becomes a thing. And then this is how you start becoming attuned to the stuff that happens around you. In the same sense as when I did the reading a few weeks ago, and it was regarding, off the top of my head, gathering your tribe, what was the other one? Walking in beauty. This is off the top of my head, by the way. Was it Ancient Forest, I think, in the south for Mother Earth? And I was like, yeah, they're making fun of me. They're like, go out and touch grass. Gather your friends, walk in beauty and touch grass. And then I had the peace pipe as a message from the ancestors. Again, these are all representations. You know, acknowledging that is, as is above, as is below, the self, the higher self, and your ancestors. Some may refer to them as spirit guides. Sometimes you might have heard that one. These are all relative things. More so if you're actually involved in this kind of lifestyle. And yes, it does help some people. Not everyone, it helps some people. The thing is, with the people that I think it doesn't help is because, like I said, say something might happen and they feel it's like a bit bad luck or something like that, or a bit maybe, I mean, alright, I'm not going for the example of like some catastrophic major event that, you know, it's a bit more than bad luck, right? But I'm just talking about sort of like, they don't have much patience, and they're quite willing to just quit and give up and then blame everything on something because something didn't work out the way they wanted it to the first time round, rather than actually taking a step back, a deep breath, use a bit of intuition, and then trying to find another way around the situation. Or maybe just taking a step back and then seeing what happens as a result of whatever it was. You know, a lot of the time people, and myself included, so I still do this, is sometimes I take things a little bit personally. I'm like, what the, you know, why me? You know the expression, why me? It's not that it's necessarily an actual personal thing in some cases. Obviously, if it's someone wronging you, then yeah, you could say, why me? And it's like, well, that'll be delving into a different topic, let's not do that. But this is just it. 19 minutes 19:28, there we go. It's you have to be willing to submit to what is and accept what is. Not everyone can do it. Some people don't have the patience, some people are just purely atheist and they're just not interested in any of that. It's like, no, what is. You know, it's like you're born, you live your life, then you die, then that's it. And it's like, yeah, kind of. But do you ever wonder why all these like stories, like I was saying at the beginning of the video, like of the spirit world and the spirit realms and the different astral planes and the fifth dimension, do you think these just came about randomly, or could it possibly be a thing? And then, like I say, if you do believe in it, you're going to get those that are going to point the finger and be like, well, you're just a bit woo-woo, you're a bit off your rocker with all of this, you know, you're going a little bit too deep. And it's like, well, let's look at the ancient traditions then. Even things like the runes, which came from the Vikings, and the story with Odin and hanging himself from the tree for 9 days and 9 nights in order to get and understand the meaning of the runes and understanding the power of the runes, and how that affected the lifestyle of the Swedish, the Danish and the Norwegians, and also northern Germany. But I think the world was a little bit more compact then, and everything was closer together. Hence Elder Fultark were also part of northern Germany. Just saying. And obviously these things that made their way across the world. You know, the Vikings turned up in the United Kingdom. The Vikings made it all the way to the Americas. But the Americas was actually a lot closer back then. Like I said, the world hasn't necessarily expanded as such in a physical form. The Earth has moved. It's separated a lot from what it used to be. At this point we could start talking physics, and it's like because of the gyrations of the planet on the axis that it sits on, you know, it's got like a centrifugal force on the countries. Think about it. It's just that's just basic physics, and I'm not a physicist. You don't need to be. You know, if you look at the way something spins, if it's like you get a coin, and don't do this in an enclosed space and not next to anyone, but get a coin or something like flat round metal with a hole in it, and put a rubber elastic band around it, and then just like have it, and then start spinning it around, and the faster you go, the further out it will go. That is called centrifugal force. That is how countries expanded in that sense over the years. So you get a free physics lesson with this one as well. But again, this is, you know, we're talking about how we came to be where we are today. A lot of people don't really quite get this, and it's sort of like, yeah, the Earth is flat. Don't fucking go there, right? Because I'll flatten you. If the Earth was flat, we'd fucking fall off. Now stop being stupid. Right, there you go, you've been told. Whew. Anyway. But all of these things, these rituals and these ceremonies and that of the ancients were a thing. A thing that tradition, due to religion, invasions of different countries, bringing different religions into different parts of the country and different parts of the world, which as a result, I was mentioned before, Salem witch trials, you know, the laws, rules and regulations imposed on Native American populations across America about how they couldn't do their ceremonies, about how, you know, and they'd be imprisoned for that. And again, Salem witch trials, burning people alive just because. No evidence, no real evidence needed, just because. Fuck you. And okay, you can argue for the cases of, like, if I'm going to talk about everything, I'm going to include places like Africa, and we're going to start talking about witch doctors and voodoo and good magic and bad magic, white and black magic and all that, call it what the fuck you will. And this is just it. Do you really think it just came out of nowhere? Do you really think the people that practice it just woke up one day and thought, oh no? No. It just comes from thousands of years of tradition that in a lot of cases has been wiped out. You know, if you take a look at the basic pagan and Wiccan ceremonies throughout the year, and then compare it to the Christian version, you've got Candlemas. Well, what's that? That's like the season of light, you know. You've got the maypole, right? Dancing around the maypole, that's generally fertility, and obviously you can look into that however you want, and you could be like, well, it's just an excuse to have a mass orgy. You kind of might be right. You know, you probably are actually. Okay, you are. But still, this comes from a way of how things used to be done. Now, morality and immorality plays a whole different part altogether. You see, with religion comes structure. You know, you are expected to follow a certain set of rules that are written, you know. And for the most part, I believe, at least, that, you know, that it does bring a lot in terms of living as a functional society. At the same time, it brought a lot of negative with it. Like I said, stopping other people believing in what they wanted to believe in and punishing them for it. You know, which we still see today. You know, if these days we just call them some kind of extremists, right? Where they go out and do heinous acts, and oh yeah, it's because they're an extremist. It's like, really? You don't say. 10 out of 10 for observation. 0 out of 10 for actually doing anything about it. But again, it's because some people believe that their way is the right way, and everyone else that doesn't believe in it should suffer some sort of consequence and should be punished accordingly, and that's because their book, their rigid book, says so. You know, you look at the way a lot of these beliefs, as it were passed down from, say, Native Americans. It was all spoken word. They weren't using books and parchment like the Europeans did. Well, the Europeans didn't actually start using books until they met with China. That's when the introduction of paper first became a thing. Even the Middle East had paper back then. You know, I was talking all sorts of stuff now, but yeah, I get that some people are going to believe it and some people aren't going to believe in all this sort of like divination and like, oh yeah, you're talking about, you know, it's like, well, because it is actually a thing. And if rather than just sitting there contesting it all the time, you had a bit of humble pie, but it's not just about that, right? I don't want to come across like I'm putting people down, because it isn't for everyone, right? And I at least respect that. Not everyone is going to respect my view on that, and they're not going to respect people like me or others that live this kind of a lifestyle. But that's fine, because we're not interfering with your life. We're just doing us. We're doing our thing. But yeah. And like I say, understanding that, you know, shamanism isn't just about Native American spirituality. For me, it is kind of a thing, obviously. And as is the runes and numerology and everything else that I've shown at the beginning of this video. But I get that it's not for everyone, and I respect that. But if you can get into it, it will help you out. It will help you as an individual grow, and it will also help you understanding the reason as to sometimes why things are the way that they are, and in some cases having some acceptance of why things are the way that they are. Anyway, I'm going to close the video off. And before I do that, I'm going to need the book anyway. If I could just have a random one, please, just to finish this off with. Let's have this one right about here. Lizard Spirit. Dream the world into being. Yeah. '38th card. I nearly ended up playing a... Let's see if I can find that. It's 26, 31, 33, too many, 38. No, that was 37. Dream the world into being. Oracle message. When was the last time you basked in the sun and allowed yourself to daydream, to imagine what might be and who you might become? Lizard Spirit appears when you are called to let your imagination flow and dream something new. Inspiration is available to you now if you are willing to slow down and let your eyes close a little, allowing ideas to dance in your head. What might come into being if you were to pursue your dream? How might you grow and expand if you allowed yourself to dare to believe in the impossible? What have I been talking about? Making it possible first in your dreaming mind and then in the world as you co-create with spirit. Give in to the power of imagination and soon your dream will become clearer. The steps will reveal themselves and what was ephemeral will begin to, I hate when they use big words, coalesce into form. Dream it and be it. Spirit asks you to dare to dream big. Protection message. Have you been allowing your imagination to run amok and dream up a nightmare that seems to have come true? Fear not, for whatever dreaming you did in the past can change today as you dream anew. Wake up from the perception that everything is wrong. Lizard Spirit asks you to open your eyes and consciously dream a better dream. What would it look like to already have what you desire and be the one you wish to be? How might it feel to work toward co-creating this new dream? You've got a 2-page one actually. Into a reality in the world of senses, drawing it out of the world of dreams and building it into a world of form. Trust in your ability to dream anew. Honour it today. And with that, 31:35. Thank you all for listening. Thoughts, comments and opinions, feel free to jot them down. Till the next one, stay cool, stay free. Peace out.